Well, hey everybody, how are you? Wanted to do a video today about what do you do if you have an uneven workload being dumped on you. And by the way, you may hear my basset hound crying. So he's going to go in and out. You can see the door opening right here. Um, okay, you go lay down now. Okay. Um, what do you do when you're new on the job? And a seasoned paralegal is your coworker. And that's invaluable if they'll answer some questions for you, but I have to tell you, they're not there to run a school. So it can be very annoying for the seasoned veteran paralegal. But what some paralegals have done, and this is on the Facebook page, we had this discussion recently because a couple of the people that are part of my page are experiencing this as new paralegals, that a veteran paralegal will dump extra heavy work on a new employee and really put it to them when it's totally unnecessary. There really shouldn't be anything to prove in that regard, but sometimes that's the case, and trying to just show who's the boss, and they're not really. And also that there's a hierarchy, just like chickens in a hen house. And that's also unnecessary. It should be evened out and let that person do some work and catch on, but not to dump on them because it's way too early for that. So sometimes wisdom is not ruling the office in that regard. And if there isn't anybody above that paralegal checking on that, they're trusting that the paralegal isn't doing that, but it is being done. Okay, and that is the troops. There's an old saying in the Army, the troops do what the boss or the colonel, the higher ups will check. A colonel that my husband used to work for not in the Army, but had worked in a plant with my husband as my husband's boss, said the troops do what the boss checks. So if a paralegal is left unchecked, and she or he is dumping on a new paralegal, that new paralegal, of course, feels vulnerable. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to have it be seen that they can't cope with that amount of work, when in reality, they shouldn't be doing that amount of work. Just because they're coming either out of 2-year school, have a certificate. Sorry, we've got barking dogs today. Just because they have that or no formal education whatsoever, but they've worked out in the workforce and have experienced, excuse me a minute, have experienced many different scenarios. That doesn't mean that this isn't daunting, the first job, So so how do you work with this? Well, one of the ways is that you've got to have, and I'll show you my notebook, but I use a legal pad at work for my to-do list. You can put it on the computer in a Word doc. You don't need to have it written out by hand, but you don't erase it. You don't, when you're done with something, just delete it. You bring it to the bottom of the to-do list and do a strike through. Learn how to do a strike through and leave it down there. Or you don't even have to do a strike through. You could put in cap letters, done. And when you finished it, we track things like that because we have people asking us all the time, what are you working on? Or are you done with that? When did you get it done? So I use a legal pad because I like to handwrite and I save my to-do lists. But again, you can use a computer. It'll be much faster. You can minimize your screen, and every time you want that document, you're not going back searching for it. You minimize it on your screen, and so you can just hit it and brings it up, boop, boop, boop. You type into it, do whatever you have to do. The to-do list is vital because it shows what you're working on. When you have a paralegal who's dumping on you like this, and it does happen occasionally, then you've got to be able to show everything. You should do this anyway, everything you're working on in a given day. So you're going to date when you got that assignment, when you received the assignment. Um, it might be that you have to track how long you're working on it. Yes, we do that in legal. So when you are getting to know everybody, you don't arrive as if you know everything. That's really burning bridges. You arrive with a humble spirit, but when this happens, it's daunting with the dumping of the work. So I would ask if there is a time to, with the senior, not senior partner, but the attorney directly over you, that you sit down with that attorney, if possible, by yourself and say, this is what I'm working on. Or if the attorney just stops by and says, what are you working on? Say, well, I'm working on this, so-and-so gave me this to work on today. They may ask you, they may not, but they may ask you, how are you doing with all that? Say, well, I don't know if I can do all this in a day because I'm new. I'm trying and I don't know what is priority yet. That's where you have to get your communication skills in gear to ask, what's the most important thing I should be working on? You will feel like you're moving like a snail because you're having to learn some of the very basics of what we do every day. And then 2 weeks later, you will already know a lot. So you have to give yourself some space, even if other people are not, and they expect you to be faster because they forget what it's like to be new. Okay. So having that to-do list is everything. If the attorney is not a communicator and does not want to come by, wants that paralegal to manage you, um, if that attorney does come by or you stop in and say hello, if they are somewhat of a communicator and they say, how are you doing? Say, I'm trying to manage my workload efficiently. And if they bite on that, because attorneys are great questioners, then, it's okay to not be able to do everything the first 2 months to 6 months. The learning curve is huge. So it's okay. We get this vulnerable feeling like they'll think I'm stupid. They'll think I didn't learn a thing, especially if you went to school or got a certificate. You still are going to struggle like this. You will struggle. So you will feel vulnerable. Just understand that going in. But not every attorney is a communicator. What I did is the senior partner and I struck up a friendship because my dad was a supermarket manager. The senior partner had worked in a supermarket before he ever went to law school. So, and his mentor, the manager of the supermarket, was so great with him, like a father figure, that he has a warm spot for people who work in the grocery industry. So when he heard my dad was a manager, my first job ever was as a cashier in a supermarket in New Jersey with the same chain, but not in my father's store. He then started to talk to me. And then he understood that I had owned a couple businesses. He wanted to talk about, he knew I managed employees. So he said, how do I know what's going on in this place regarding management? And so he was really a communicator that way. He wanted to solve some issues that he was sniffing out that were problems. Dumping on a new employee is problematic. I had that done to me when I was a seasoned veteran paralegal in Florida. And I left that job because that's poor management. That paralegal should not be a manager. The attorney is not too bright for allowing that paralegal to do that. There's trust there, but the paralegal is abusing that trust, you see? So that's the dynamic. And what I tried to do, because there were other things in that job that weren't right, and that's why I left. But as a new person, I was dumped on by the paralegal to do all the filing, to be a legal secretary, answer all the phones, and run errands for office supplies and snacks and drinks like water. And I had to squeeze all that in. Now, she helped with the phones and she was a fantastic mentor. So it was a trade off for me. And my goal was to stay there for a year. I made it to 7 months and left because the managing partner reneged on a potential review and raise, which I needed because I started low. And so this is not to be scary. This is how life is. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But what I did with the senior partner is I talked to him about getting a college student to help answer the phones and take some things off of us. That worked like a dream. He had to think about it for a couple weeks, but it worked. When the partner sees that without you saying she's dumping everything on me, that's kind of cutting her legs out from underneath her, and that's burning a bridge. So you have to be very delicate in how you handle this because you have to work with that paralegal. And that paralegal can help you a lot, but you have to ask questions. When they become annoyed at the questions, that becomes problematic. But that's how it is because they have a heavy workload. But if they're dumping a lot of that workload, the solution is that you have your to-do list and you will go slow in the beginning. It's just there's no way around that. You won't have the speed for at least, I would say, 2 months to 6 months. And it should increase in how you get things done, your understanding of things, keeping good notes, for yourself on a legal pad to remind you how to do things. Once you get an answer from the paralegal, you write that baby down. You don't go back to that paralegal asking the same questions over and over again. So we all know that somebody dumping work too soon on you as your first 2 weeks on the job, that the first 2 months on the job is way too soon. However, in my first job, the paralegal was she was wanting to hold me back, and an attorney there wanted me to work on trials. I saw this as a major opportunity. So he ignored her as a partner. He could do that. And he gave me that work. And we worked trials together. And so I was trying to soak it up like a sponge. Hey there. Hi, Irma. Oh, thanks. Thank you, Irma. Glad you're here. I appreciate you too. So when I worked trials with this attorney, I worked 3 or 4 trials in those 7 months right before I left. I hated leaving that particular attorney. But here's the beautiful thing that happened. When I went to the second job, that was with an attorney who was okay, but he became a screamer, and that wasn't going to fly. And so that job, I think I was there a year, and the attorney from the first job was leaving the partnership. And I happened to stop over. I had no idea that was happening. I stopped over to say hi to my mentor paralegal and during my lunch hour. And then he said, "Can we have lunch sometime?" And it wasn't anything creepy. And we went to a restaurant that was my hubby and mine's favorite, as well as this attorney's, and met there and worked out a deal that I would come work for him ASAP. I would give a 2-week notice and then help him set up the office. So it was a great opportunity to set up an office. And having set up a business before, I knew I could do this with my eyes shut. So I was bringing more to the table after working for this second attorney. I could bump my salary requirements up because I was still driving 40 miles one way to work. So those opportunities will present themselves, or you go after them. This first job is to soak it up like a sponge, and the second job, and even the third. And then keep track, I preach this, of everything you're learning. Even while you're being dumped on, you're tracking everything on the to-do list, you're asking questions. You can't sit at your desk in fear and not get answers to how to do something and waste time. That clock is ticking. So you have to get it done and don't disappoint them. That was my goal. Don't disappoint them. Try to get it done. Um, and I was grateful for that first job because I cut my teeth there. I was able to learn so much, but I took good notes so I could refer back to them. Okay. So some of what I've said in here, you should write down those things that you have to do. You may have conversations with your attorney a lot. That attorney may be a great communicator and want to know how you're doing. And ask for time where you two can talk without that paralegal there, but not to disparage the paralegal. Just like you may ask, am I like, I have this to do. Should I be able to get that done within the day as a new person? You don't want to undercut that paralegal because it will not be pretty. So be careful about it's, working with people. It's different, and it's sometimes it's like walking on eggshells. So be careful about disparaging, saying bad things about that paralegal as at any time in your career. Be very careful about that. You want to build bridges, not burn them. If you're eating together during lunch, where you just make it a point a couple times a week to have lunch in the conference room together, and or offer that. Or if you go out, that's a little bit difficult for both people to go out for lunch. It's usually one goes out at one time so that there's coverage of phones and whatnot. So eating inside and bringing in lunch, ordering from a local place, having it delivered, or you go pick it up or whatever, it goes a long way. Noshing together, eating together is always, it should be a great thing because it breaks down walls, breaks down barriers, and you can start that open communication. Okay. And I am an introvert. And although I'm half and half really, but I'm always quiet going into a new place, and I have to push myself out of it and talk to people because my instincts are to be quiet and just like bury my head in the work. But there's other stuff that you have to build over here, and that's relationships that you're not going to go behind their back, okay, and say negative things. All right. Even if they're doing something like that, like work dumping, your to-do list will show everything you're working on. The attorney should be smart enough to know that that's too much. Okay. Sometimes they're not smart enough. So you have to, as a newbie, you will not get it done as fast as you will 2 months from your starting day. Okay. So be patient with yourself, and it will happen, and you'll be speeding through your work and doing it accurately, which is super important. You're going to proofread. You're not going to cut corners. You're going to proofread your work so that you don't expect your attorney to be your proofreader or that paralegal, and that's sloppy. That's major sloppy work. You're not going to let the filing sit on the floor so it builds to a mound of 1.5 feet high, as I have seen. And while that person was out on a vacation day, had to hunt through that pile of garbage. So, no, you don't want to be that person. So you have to solve those problems by allocating time during the day to start filing things away. It's a dance. It's a dance in handling the workload, but sometimes people take advantage of the new person. That's the way it is. And wish I could be the, wave my magic wand and solve that. But there are ways to manage. You have to manage every single iota of your work. Okay, so that when they come by, and I've had attorneys pick up my to-do list and say, what are you working on? And I said, everything with a star by it for today. And they'll look at it and go, okay, what are you working on right now? And I'd say that. And they may switch it on me. Okay, can you drop that and then work on this? Because they're nervous about something. They want something out right away. They're the boss. Okay, so I hope this was helpful to you. No job is a cakewalk. There are these things that crop up. This is a thing that I'm not happy with that occurs. Seasoned veteran paralegals should know better than to do this. They should remember what it felt like to start, but a lot of them forget or they don't care. But for the most part, people don't do that to each other. That's my experience. Um, but you get the few that make it bad for the rest, right? So get to know that person who's doing that. And again, eating together is of prime importance if they're open to it. If they're not, you can't force the issue. So, all right. So I'm going to sign off for today. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being here, Irma. Oh, guys, don't forget to go to the website. Lately, I've been putting that link below, which I'll do as soon as I'm done on some of the other videos coming up. The one that popped up yesterday, I believe there's a link to the Paralegal Inner Circle class, which I would recommend if you're interested in that, you need to check it out. Go click on that link or just look for Paralegal Inner Circle class, which will be on my website, okay? And get on the wait list. It will launch on January 15th. And that's 50 videos, PDFs to download. The class goes for 6 months. It's on demand, so you can go through it at your pace, but it'll be done in 6 months. So I have people sometimes that let it go to the last minute because they're busy, but you have to dedicate yourself. I don't monitor your progress, but I have a private Facebook group where you can come in and ask questions. Okay. And I do some additional training in there. Okay. So I would recommend that. I've had brand new paralegals take that course, people who want to get into the career, people who took a 2-year, went through the 2-year curriculum and then took my class, people who took a certificate program, took my class, and then people who have a high school education or a different, you don't have to have a degree to get in this, okay? And you can look at a video I did, oh gosh, about 4 weeks ago, about what if I never attended or nor finished paralegal school. I've had somebody ask me that question. So I did that video. You can watch that one. That's very helpful. Okay. So go to the website, paralegalcoffeetalk.com, and look for complimentary items that I have for you there. There's a list called, and it's all at the top of the website. 19 alternative paralegal careers list. Get that. What else? Free chapter of my book, Legal Break-In, or you can go to another link and get the complete book. It's up to you. Goals journal is something complimentary. Okay. So check it out. There's some blog posts there that are brand new about SMART goals. What is a SMART goal? How to set SMART goals. And so take advantage of all the information that's on the website and the complimentary items. All right, so have a great day, and I will talk to you in the next live. Have a beautiful Monday. Bye.